special episode of the Inside Rip. We have today at Radio Row Jordan Rodrigue, senior writer for The Athletic. And throughout this chaos, we are here because of Super Bowl 60. Everyone's talking about it.
Oh, that's still happening.
That is still what a surprise. While everyone's talking about it, let's talk about the thing everyone's talking about. Who's going to win the Super Bowl this year, Jordan? What's your prediction?
So, like so many other people, I am picking the Seahawks. I know that shocks you to hear. Just seeing up close so frequently this year, like how well built they are in every phase. Mm-hmm. They have an advantage to me just in terms of talent in most phases of the ball, and they don't have a Sam Darnold problem like I think the narrative was for most of the season.
Yes. Okay, so speaking of predictions, here at Radio Row, there was an NFL conference that talked about analytics, NFL analytics, and how great analytics have gotten, and so much so that they can predict certain plays from happening with pristine accuracy. The one coach that gives this computer the most trouble is our good friend, Sean McVay. I do not want you to dumb things down. I want you to go and explain what Sean does that gets defenses and computers all wrong up here.
Well, he understands defensive rules like very few coaches. What I mean by that is especially with zoning defenses that predominantly play zone like most do now, they have a certain set of rules about spacing on the field and how they react to different route patterns that they see, how they react to different like screen patterns and the layers that are basically built into a passing game. And so
sorry, we're in the middle of filming.
Woo!
Rockers,
I love it. I love it. No, I love it. That was great. That was a great cameo. That was a great cameo.
It's okay.
Nice to see you.
When I interview you later, you come back. I'm just kidding.
We love it. This was just a tease for the audience. Yeah, just a tease for the audience.
I
know, Michael Brockers of all people.
Former Ram. It's fine. Here we are.
But he understands defensive rules. He understands defensive rules like better than many coaches do, which means that he can create the layers of his concepts, whether run or pass, to best attack how he knows a defense is built to react. So when you're talking about like a computer model, for example, a computer model is going off of tendencies. Tendencies is just another word for rules. And so what he's trying to do is break your rules, use them against you, and exploit them because he's trying. It's what we call tendency breakers, and that is what he does really well as a coach, and why his offenses are so difficult to defend and they change all the time. Is because he does have such an understanding of that, and so. I think that it's an interesting note that you bring up that it's confusing the computer in a way, because that's what I think he's very good at is breaking other defenses' tendencies, because he understands what they are trying to do in attacking offenses so well. But then also it doesn't stay the same. It changes from week to week and it evolves from week to week. So it's almost really hard to get a read on what his own tendencies are, because he could be calling it differently or could have a completely different personnel matchup for a defense to try to counter out of thin air, essentially. And so that's where I think he really is, that's how he continues to stay ahead. And the best coaches in this game, offense and defense, have a real understanding of each other's rules in that regard.
That makes sense. Well,
it's what makes Mike McDonald so good.
I was going to say, all of these OCs and DCs, especially under Sean McVay, seem to end up as head coaches. You've seen the chart. It is like every single offensive and defensive coordinator, Raheem Morris. You insert now Mike LaFleur getting the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. What is, do you think, the similar thread that makes these guys most applicable for a head coaching job? Or is it just that people want Sean McVay?
Well, yeah, I think owners do, right?
Yeah.
But that's just not possible.
Right.
So what I think it's a few things. What I think the league is trended toward offense. We know that. What I love about the Seahawks this year and about Mike Vrabel's Patriots is that other strengths are shining through where you can dominate in the league with different strengths, whether you're a defensive scheme lord like Mike Macdonald is, and a really good player coach like Mike Macdonald is, or you've got basically a holistic view of what a team is, really great defensive coach, and also situational edges and advantages the way that Mike Vrabel has.
Okay.
So, and a player's coach as well. But owners are gravitating toward offense because offense wins. And the league is built and infrastructurally leaning toward maximizing offense. The league wants points. And so they want the person who can not only maximize offense, but also who can raise the floor for the quarterback the way that this scheme traditionally has.
Yeah.
Now, it takes a lot of different shapes and looks a lot different because the best coaches do adjust to the strengths of their players once they get in the building. But I think they're looking at that as a baseline. Now, where it goes a little bit deeper and what they're trying to imitate, replicate is probably impossible, is some of the process of what he does and what his coaches do, which are, it's the teaching progression, it's the way they install things, it's the way they run practices, it's the way they run drills, it's the collaboration with the front office. They're trying to replicate all of these different things that they think they know about what's happening inside the Rams building.
Yeah.
And it does set the coaches who do succeed out of this tree apart when they're able to take those process items and actually apply them in a real way. I think Liam Cohen and James Gladstone have done a great job of that because they understand intrinsically, James Gladstone being a Les Snead disciple for years and Liam being a McVay disciple for years, they understand intrinsically it's less even about their own gifts and quote unquote superpowers as coach and GM. It's more about how they build together and what that communication flow is like. That's what has, I think, set the McVay tree, quote unquote, apart, is when you can find that type of partnership and that collaboration.
Where do you think the NFL, if it's not going after a Sean McVay disciple, where can we find good coaches? There's obviously a huge discussion going on and as a failure of getting a lack of minority head coaches. But like, where do you think, because you cover head coaches very closely, OCs, NBCs, where do we find good head coaches? Well,
first of all, it's a huge problem. The league has really dropped the ball. And it's not just the league and the infrastructure of the league, because the coaches are out there.
Yes.
There's less developmental pipelines that, they pause the main pipeline that a lot of coaches found valuable to have as part of their development process. And that's a huge problem. That needs to be reorganized and come back in a way that is actually making a difference and impacting positive change, because a lot of these coaches are so gifted, it's having the opportunity to get in the room and talk about their own superpowers, right? The other thing, though, is I think that this is a really interesting year because you see it with there's a gap in between it's a retread coach, or it's a defensive coach, or it's a brand new baby coach, right? Who, probably on the offensive side.
Yes.
There was no big get that wasn't also a retread coach in this cycle. So to me, when I look at the landscape of what the hiring cycle is right now and all of its problems, and also where there are clear avenues to A, improve, and B, really kickstart this age of good coaching that I think we're in, is all of these, it's an opportunity for the league to really think about coaching development. I do know that in a more general way, Sean over time has thought about what it actually means to be a coaching factory, right? Whereas I think for a long time it was hard for him to admit people want to pull from my coaching staff because all these reasons. Now thinking about how to develop coaches, now thinking about what that actually looks like, what opportunities they're given while in the building, because this was a kind of a gap year of sorts in terms of there was no golden child, there was no Ben Johnson, there was no Mike Vrabel on this market. They hope so, obviously, but there just wasn't. And so what they're really hoping for now and what they should be thinking about is, okay, how can we reach inside all of these buildings and look inside all these buildings and really think about the talent that's there and what they need in terms of tools and guidance and opportunities and collaboration maybe with other, in these large incubator spaces, and think about how they can develop this next generation of young coaches, because there's a whole group of them that just aren't quite ready yet.
Right.
And then there's a bunch of guys at the top who we might not even see coaching teams in the next couple of years, because it's hard for a retread to work, right? It's hard for incongruous GM coach pairings to work, and we had 10 openings this cycle. Well, that to me, we could be seeing like another record here in a couple of years, because of just the sort of the gap between who's ready and who still needs to be developed.
That's a good point. And look, Sean McVay.
And you can tell I'm rambling a little bit because there's a lot of people walking around.
This is chaos at Radio Row. We're just working with what we've got. Jordan Rodrigue, senior writer of The Athletic. Jordan, quickly, pulling a coach from within is what Sean McVay decided to do, replacing LaFleur with Rigoni.
Well, they're still working through. They'll still work through it. So I think they're still going to work through it, because they're obviously going to go through the process. They have a couple of really talented in-house candidates. Dave Rigoni, the quarterbacks coach, is one of them. Nate Shieldhouse, another one who had a guy who had head coaching opportunities. He's also someone who's really bright, really talented. So this is what I mean when I talk about there's an opportunity. Hey, DJ, how are you? You go ahead. Come on through. It adds to the scene. DJ Moore. So it is there. That's what I'm talking about when you take that and look at the microcosm of that building and sort of apply it across
DJ Moore saved your shot. Thanks, DJ. Way to be a teammate.
Team player right there. So you look at that. That's like internal. That's internal development.
Right,
that's
which
really
I think
important.
Is what we were alluding to before.
Exactly.
Like, where can we find these diamonds in the rough?
Exactly.
Will Sean McVay win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford before he retires?
Yes, I think so. They're right there. They're right there. Get a couple corners. Fix special teams.
That's
it.
Realistic.
That's it.
That's all you
That's
need.
all you have to do.
Reevaluate special teams. Get some corners. You're good to go. And maybe a bag of someone goes down. Who will Sean McVay? Like, who is the next quarterback that works if it's not Matthew Stafford?
That's such a good question, because they have to be thinking about that too, right? I have never seen him with a rookie.
Right.
It's an unknown, and I think that is a big thing that people overlook. Is can he actually develop a rookie quarterback? Is a big question I think still remaining about him as a coach. We've seen him lift the floor using the coaching and the system of quarterbacks who he either inherited or traded for. However, can he develop from the ground up a baby, essentially? So there's that, right? But I always think, like, the Rams being the Rams, they always want to go out and make the splash trade, right?
They do. It's the F them picks, the less need,
They love it. And Sean McVay really appreciates somebody who's seen a lot of football already, who can speak to him at his level. Because the pace in that building is so fast. And anytime there's been bumps in the road with a quarterback, with Jared Goff being the example, it was just a pacing thing. It's not because Jared couldn't do it. Just different pace, different time in the team build, different, like the direction was just, like I said, incongruous at that time. And so then he went and got somebody who was at the same pace that he was at in that moment. The same thing again. This team is ready to win. They're going to retain a lot of these guys who are entering their contract season. They will still be ready to win. That's how they've been built now. So you can plug in a quarterback and like have fun. But I would personally, selfishly, would love to see Matthew Stafford slinging it around until he's 40.
For sure.
But
look,
realistically,
we've seen other quarterbacks do it successfully, but more. I mean, I look at like an Anthony Richardson who may be floating around, a Malik Willis who's a free agent and has shown sparks of real promise. And I'm like, I could already see Les Snead, as you and I know, trying to put parts together for years to come.
Yeah, it'll be fun, and I think like they're always in the market for everybody. Like nothing is really ever off the table for them as an organization. So I feel like this is just, someone could shake loose that we're not even thinking of. And, it's Joe Burrow's often in California. All of these things that,
people's mind would explode.
But that's sort of when they're thinking about a ready-to-win roster. Let's say if, I do believe Matthew will be back, but let's say other scenario, maybe not, whatever. This is a ready-to-win roster, so they want to swing big for whoever it is, including the quarterback they have now, who, by the way, should be getting paid more based on the body of work here.
Yes, I agree. Jordan, very quickly, because we work in cards, can you rip open a pack of cards and see what you get?
I'm scared. Is a fake snake gonna come out?
Yes.
Okay.
Chase.
Garrett Wilson.
Okay, we like.
Darius Slayton.
Love.
Jamison Williams.
These are people we know.
Von Miller. Oh, he's just on our show on NFL Daily, and maybe you couldn't see it because someone just walked across the shot again. Ennis Rakestraw. Oh, Mizzou.
There you go.
That's my Les Snead impression. Mizzou. Tyrone Tracy Jr. and Trey Hendrickson.
Hey,
wow.
nice.
What a pack.
Jordan, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate
Always a
you.
pleasure. Great to
Find
see
her
you,
on The
Sarina.
Athletic and everywhere else in the universe. She knows more football than most people do. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you. Freaking best.